For centuries, we've told ourselves the comforting story that space is the final frontier, that one day, like explorers crossing an ocean, we'll sail out past our own sun and settle the stars. It feels almost inevitable. We put men on the moon, we sent robots to the edge of the solar system. Surely the stars are just the next step. But here's the uncomfortable truth that physicists keep quietly pointing out. We will almost certainly never leave the solar system. Not because we lack the money, not because we lack the will, but because the laws of physics themselves seem to have built a wall around us. A wall so high that no amount of cleverness may ever get us over it. The distances are too vast, the energy required is too monstrous, and our fragile bodies are too short-lived. Today, let's look honestly at why the stars may be forever out of reach, and why that silence in the night sky might mean something profound. Let's go. Let's start with the thing that breaks every intuition we have: the sheer, crushing scale of the distances involved. We tend to think the solar system is big, and it is. But the gap to the next star is something else entirely. A void so wide it makes our whole planetary system look like a single grain of sand. The nearest star beyond our sun, Proxima Centauri, lies about 4 light-years away. That sounds almost manageable, 4. But a light-year is the distance light travels in a year, moving at 300,000 kilometers every second. 4 light-years is roughly 40 trillion kilometers. The human mind simply cannot hold that number. So let's make it concrete by using our fastest machines. Consider Voyager 1, the space probe launched in the 1970s, the most distant object humanity has ever built, still racing outward after nearly 50 years. It moves at about 60,000 kilometers per hour, a speed no human vehicle on Earth comes close to. And yet, if Voyager 1 were aimed at Proxima Centauri, it would take roughly 76,000 years to get there. 76,000 years. To put that in perspective, that's longer than our entire recorded history, stretching back past the last ice age to a time before cities, before writing, before agriculture. An entire human civilization could rise and fall many times over before the probe arrived. But surely, you might say, we can build something faster than an old probe from the 70s. And we have. The fastest object humans have ever built is a spacecraft that flew close to the sun, reaching the blistering speed of nearly 700,000 kilometers per hour. More than 10 times faster than Voyager. Surely that changes things. It barely does. Even at that incredible velocity, the journey to the nearest star would still take something like 6,600 years. Think about that. If our ancestors had launched such a ship at the dawn of human civilization, back when the Great Pyramids of Egypt were being built, it would only just be arriving now. And remember, that's the closest star. The galaxy itself stretches 100,000 light-years across. Crossing it at these speeds would take hundreds of millions of years, longer than mammals have existed on Earth. So distance alone is staggering. But distance by itself isn't the wall. The wall is what it would take to cross that distance in any reasonable time. And that brings us to the real villain of this story: energy. Here's the problem in a nutshell. To make these journeys short enough for a human to survive, you'd need to travel at a meaningful fraction of the speed of light, say 10%. But accelerating anything with mass to such speeds takes a truly monstrous amount of energy. And rockets face a vicious trap that engineers call the rocket equation. To go faster, you need more fuel. But that fuel has weight, and to carry that extra weight, you need even more fuel to push it. And that fuel needs more fuel still. The numbers spiral out of control with terrifying speed. This is the heart of the cruelty, so it's worth dwelling on. The relationship isn't gentle and additive. It's brutally exponential. Doubling the speed you want doesn't double the fuel. It multiplies it many times over. Every extra bit of velocity costs disproportionately more than the last, because you have to carry the fuel for the fuel, and the fuel for that fuel, in a cascade that explodes upward. This single mathematical fact is the reason getting anywhere fast in space is so monstrously hard. It's not that our engines are weak. It's that the very logic of carrying your own fuel defeats itself the moment you ask for real speed. A rocket trying to reach the stars is like a person trying to carry enough food to walk around the entire planet without stopping. The supplies needed become so heavy that you can't move at all. Just how bad is it? With the chemical rockets we actually use today, the kind that launch every mission into space, the amount of fuel needed to push a single spacecraft to the nearest star would be greater than the mass of the entire observable universe. Let that sink in. Not the mass of the Earth, not the mass of the Sun, not the mass of the galaxy, the mass of everything we can see in all of existence. As one famous physicist bluntly put it, chemical fuels are simply hopeless for crossing between stars. They are the wrong tool by an almost unimaginable margin. Fine, you say. Then we use nuclear power. And yes, nuclear energy is vastly more potent than chemical fuel. Splitting atoms, as in a nuclear reactor, or fusing them together, as in the sun and in hydrogen bombs, releases enormously more energy per kilogram. This is genuinely our best realistic hope. But even here, the problem doesn't vanish. It just shrinks to a slightly less impossible size. A fusion-powered starship would still be dominated almost entirely by its fuel. The ship would essentially be a giant fuel tank with a tiny cabin attached, and nuclear propulsion is fiendishly difficult and inefficient to actually harness for thrust. So awkward that much of that precious energy advantage gets eaten up just dealing with the engineering nightmare of using it. It nudges the door open a crack. It does not fling it wide. So what about the ultimate fuel, antimatter? This is the stuff of science fiction, and for good reason. When matter meets antimatter, they annihilate completely, converting their entire mass directly into energy. Nothing is more efficient. A spacecraft burning antimatter could, in principle, reach the stars in mere decades. It sounds like the perfect answer. There's just one catastrophic problem: making antimatter. We can produce it. Physics laboratories have created tiny amounts, a handful of atoms at a time. But the process is almost incomprehensibly inefficient. To make antimatter, you pour in vast amounts of energy and get back a microscopic fraction of it stored in the antimatter you produced. We're talking an efficiency of something like 1 part in 100 million. To manufacture enough antimatter to fuel a single real starship, humanity would need to dedicate its entire energy output. Every power plant, every fuel source on the whole planet, for millions of years. The fuel that could take us to the stars exists, but the cost of making it is so absurd that it might as well not exist at all. And so antimatter, our great hope, quietly drops off the table. Notice the pattern here. Every propulsion method runs into the same wall from a different angle. Chemical rockets, not enough energy. Nuclear, not efficient enough. Antimatter, impossible to produce in bulk. This is why physicists increasingly suspect that the barrier isn't an engineering problem we just haven't cracked yet. The speed of light, one of them famously said, is not an engineering limit. It's a fundamental feature of reality, and the energy needed to approach it is woven into the structure of the universe itself. You don't out-engineer the laws of physics. There's another, quieter problem hiding inside these century-long timescales, and it has nothing to do with fuel. It's about whether anything we build could even survive the trip. Think about it. Humanity has never built a machine designed to keep working, untouched and self-repairing, for 1,000 years. Our most advanced spacecraft are lucky to last a few decades before something fails. To send even a robotic probe across the Gulf, we'd need technology of a reliability we have never come close to achieving, and proving that reliability would itself take 1,000 years of testing we haven't even begun. There's a bitter irony buried here too. A ship launched today would crawl through space so slowly that by the time it arrived centuries later, the technology aboard would be hopelessly ancient. A 1,000-year-old relic limping into a destination that the people back home with their newer ships might have reached long before. The journey is so long that progress itself overtakes you. But let's be wildly generous for a moment. Let's pretend we solve the energy problem somehow, that we build a ship that can crawl toward the stars even if the trip takes centuries. Now we run headfirst into a second wall, just as unforgiving as the first: biology. Because the cold truth is that a human being simply will not live long enough to make the journey. The trip to even the nearest star takes centuries at best. No human lifespan can span it, So if people are going to go, we need a way to keep them alive, or to send them in some other form. And every option here is a nightmare. Option 1. Put the crew to sleep. Freeze them or place them in some kind of deep hibernation and wake them on arrival. It's a staple of science fiction, but in reality, we have no idea how to do it. We cannot safely freeze and revive a complex adult human body. The technology simply does not exist, and the human body is fiendishly complicated. There's a flicker of hope in studying animals that hibernate, creatures that slow their bodies almost to a halt and survive. We're mammals too, so perhaps one day we could be coaxed into such a sleep. But suspending a person for centuries and bringing them back unharmed remains pure speculation. We are nowhere close. Option 2 is even darker. If we can't send living adults, why not send the very seeds of life, frozen human embryos, and grow them on arrival? It sounds clever until you follow it through. You would need artificial wombs to grow those embryos, machines that fully replace a mother's body, technology we don't yet have. And suppose you solve even that. Now picture the scene. A ship arrives at a distant world after 1,000 years, and newborn infants emerge from their incubators into an empty machine, with no parents, no people, nothing. They cannot survive alone. They would need to be raised entirely by robots, taught to speak, to walk, to be human by machines, on an alien world with no one of their own kind to show them how. Whether such children could grow into a functioning society at all is deeply uncertain, and the experiments you would have to run to even develop that technology are so monstrous that no ethical society could ever permit them. It is a path that leads straight into moral horror. So if we can't freeze adults and can't ethically raise babies by machine, we're left with the last option, the generation ship. The idea is haunting in its simplicity. You build an enormous self-contained world, a vessel that is its own little Earth, with its own recycled air, water, and food. A crew boards it, lives, has children, grows old, and dies, all aboard the ship. Generation after generation is born, lives, and dies in transit, and only the distant descendants of the original crew ever arrive. Nobody who launches will live to see the destination. Their great-great-grandchildren might. It sounds like it could work, until you examine the human realities. First, there's genetics. A small, closed population breeds a terrible danger. With too few people, inbreeding creeps in, harmful genetic conditions accumulate, and random genetic drift slowly erodes the health of the whole group. How many people would you need to avoid this? Estimates vary wildly, but serious studies suggest you'd need a starting crew not of a few dozen, but of many thousands. By some calculations, tens of thousands of people to keep the gene pool healthy across the centuries, especially once you account for disease and disaster along the way. Tens of thousands of people, fed and sheltered and kept alive for centuries inside a sealed vessel flying between the stars. The sheer size and mass of such an ark makes the energy problem we already discussed explode all over again. And then there's the deeper, more unsettling problem, the human soul itself. Imagine being born inside that ship. You will live your entire life in a metal tube. You will never see open sky, never feel rain, never walk on a planet. You did not choose this voyage. It was chosen for you, generations before your birth, and you will die before it ends, having spent your whole existence in a vessel you can never leave. Could a society survive that, sealed in a tin can for 1,000 years, without descending into madness, conflict, or collapse? Without forgetting why they ever left, or losing the knowledge needed to fly the ship? It is, in the end, less a question of physics than of the limits of the human spirit. And some thinkers consider it crueler and more likely to fail than any of the other doomed options. And looming over all of this is a quieter, more physical danger: radiation. Out in interstellar space, far from the protective magnetic field and atmosphere of Earth, the ship would be bombarded for centuries by high-energy cosmic rays, radiation that damages DNA, raising the risk of cancer and other disorders with every passing year. To shield against it, you'd need massive barriers, perhaps thick layers of water or ice wrapped around the living quarters. adding yet more weight to a ship that is already impossibly heavy. Earth protects us with a planet-sized shield we never think about. Out there, you carry your own, or you die slowly. Now, here's the cruelest twist of all. Suppose, against every odd we've discussed, we somehow built the ship, solved the energy, kept the crew alive across the centuries, and arrived. What would we even find? Because the nearest stars may not have anywhere worth landing. Our closest stellar neighbor is a small, dim red star, and the kind of planet found near such stars is often a harsh disappointment. Red dwarf stars tend to blast their worlds with flares, strip away their atmospheres, and bake them dry. The most likely planet waiting for us at the nearest star may well be an airless, lifeless, sun-baked rock. A place where, after a 1,000-year journey, our descendants could not even step outside. We might cross an ocean of emptiness for 100 generations, only to wash up on a dead shore. So let's add it all together and face what it means. Distance imposes journeys of thousands of years. Energy requirements demand more fuel than exists in the universe, or technologies we may never master. Biology gives us no safe way to carry living humans across the gulf. And the human spirit may not endure the crossing, even if the machine does. These are not obstacles waiting for a clever inventor to overcome them, like a faster ship or a better engine. They appear to be structural features of reality itself, walls built into the fabric of the cosmos. As one physicist put it, these are absolute walls that prevent civilizations from ever meeting. And maybe, just maybe, that explains one of the deepest mysteries of all: the Great Silence. We look out at a galaxy with billions of stars, may far older than our sun, and we ask, where is everyone? Why has no alien civilization ever visited us? Perhaps the answer isn't that we're alone. Perhaps it's that everyone is trapped, exactly as we are, each civilization sealed inside its own solar system by the same unyielding laws of physics, able to gaze at the stars but never to reach them. The same speed of light that walls us in, walls them in too. The cosmos may be full of life, each spark of it marooned on its own island, forever calling out across a void that none can cross. And even calling out is harder than it sounds. To send a signal across these distances, you'd need a colossal transmitter pouring out enormous power, aimed with perfect precision at exactly the right star. And the civilization on the other end would need an equally enormous receiver, pointed back at you at the very same moment in cosmic history. Miss by a little in space or in time, and the message is lost in the roar of the stars. Two civilizations might exist within reach of each other's signals and never know it, simply because they never happened to be listening in the same direction at the same instant. And the windows in which a civilization exists at all may be vanishingly brief compared to the age of the galaxy. So the silence we hear may not be emptiness. It may be the sound of countless voices, each too faint, too far, and too fleeting to ever reach another. There's something almost unbearably poignant in that picture. For all our dreams of starships and new worlds, the most honest conclusion physics offers is that this solar system may be our one and only home. Not a launching pad, but the entire stage of the human story, from first to last. And if that's true, it changes everything about how we should treat it. The stars are not a backup plan. There is no planet B waiting a few light years away. There is only this sun, these planets, this fragile blue world spinning in the dark. We were not born to escape it. We were born to belong to it. And perhaps the real frontier was never out there among the stars at all, but here, in learning to cherish and protect the only home the universe will ever let us have.